People ask me all the time, like, why Slutty Vegan? Why restaurants? Why food? I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't graduate from Le Cordon Bleu. Okay, like I'm a pinch artist. Okay, like a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. But I realized that food is energy. Food brings people together. So if I can use food as the vessel to bring people together, then if you call me a chef, I don't care. My name is Pinky Cole Hayes. I'm the founder and CEO of Slutty Vegan ATL, Bar Vegan ATL, the Pinky Cole Foundation, and American Sesh. Growing up in Baltimore was different. Both of my parents are Caribbean, so my mother is Jamaican, dad is Jamaican. So the day that I was born, my father was sentenced to 30 years in prison. So I became a hustler at a young age. I saw my mother being this woman who was loyal to a company. And then I also saw my father, even though he was physically behind bars, mentally he was so sharp and really gave me the tools that I needed to be great. So I got that Baltimore grit in me from early on. And I can remember as a kid, I'd be throwing parties, I'd be selling candy, I was selling frozen cups. So I always had that hustler in me early, and it allowed me to develop as an entrepreneur over the years. But I attribute that to my upbringing and to the city of Baltimore. A day in the life as Slutty Vegan. I wake up in the morning and I check my emails, and then I check social media and make sure that we are not in the news for the wrong reasons. And then I have my morning call with my president. And then I set the agenda for the day. My assistant sends me everything that I gotta do for the day. So typically I'll probably do like 1 to 2 interviews every day. So if it's a news interview, if it's a blog, if it's something, like I'll do probably like 2 interviews. And then I'll have my call with different leaders in the company depending on what it is. What I'm focusing on now is like updating our menu. So like I've been in the kitchen every single day, creating recipes and just identifying like new items for a spring menu. But it don't feel like work. And that's the part that I get excited about because, you know, I built this big company and there's so many moving parts, and here we are almost 6 years later and I still love what I do, especially now that I'm back in the business because I had like multiple kids, and like now that I'm fully back engaged in the brand every day, it feels good to know that I have a brand that people know and recognize and love, and I love the work that I get to do with it. I've always been an entrepreneur. When I was a kid, I used to be like, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a star. I'm gonna make it. Like, I'm gonna be rich. I'm gonna have all of this. Like, I'm not gonna have to work for nobody. Like, that was my language early on. And what I realized is there is power in the tongue. I was the underdog because I only operate in excellence. If I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna go the mile. If there's a task to be completed, I'm not going to meet a standard, I'm gonna exceed it, but it's because I always felt like the underdog. And we execute, and then we travel the team up there, and then the same time that we do that, we set up a press run, right, on all of the things, on Slutty Vegan, on American Sesh, Bleecker Street, the book, everything at the same time, so I could do radio and all of that stuff. You know what's so funny? So I remember one day, I was watching MTV, and Ludacris went to Clark Atlanta University, and he surprised the students on campus. Now before this, I didn't know nothing about college. I'm like, okay, that wasn't even a thing that I was thinking about because I didn't see many examples of people going to college. That just wasn't the thing to do, right? So when I saw Ludacris on TV, that was the first college experience that I saw. I'm like, oh, I'm going there. I didn't know nothing about CAU. I didn't know nothing about college, but I knew that if the experiences looked like that, then I wanted to be a part of those experiences. So I can remember I packed up my Dodge Spirit with all of my clothes, and I drove 12 hours to Atlanta, Georgia by myself, and I started my matriculation at CAU. So I jumped right in. I became Miss Omega Psi Phi. I was Miss Junior. I became Miss Clark Atlanta University. I pledged Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I became the Dean of Pledges. I was the most prominent student on campus. I literally immersed myself in everything that I could on campus because I'm like, this is a golden opportunity to be great. And on top of that, I was doing hair. So I'm like hustling on every level. But I'm so grateful for that experience because most of my relationships in media graduated from Clark Atlanta University. It's interesting, Slutty Vegan, just a name alone. Like, you wouldn't imagine to have a Slutty Vegan on a college campus. Not a prestigious campus like this one, right? But I think that Slutty Vegan brings a different flair. When you think about veganism, you ain't thinking about like a burger and fry. You're thinking about salad and like something real green. So I think Slutty Vegan gives you a different kind of option than what you're normally used to when you go to a cafeteria inside of an institution. You know, the big brands are always in college campuses, you know, in their cafeterias. But to have a startup company at Spelman College, at Georgia Tech, is just something that you haven't seen before. And the narrative is that, you know, Black-owned businesses can thrive. I moved to LA, and my first experience in TV was working as a production assistant on a show called Judge Carey's Court. And I didn't know the first thing about TV. My sorority sister was like, listen, you ain't got no money, you need a job. And she got me a job. And from that moment on, I'm like, okay, I had no idea that I was going to go from being in the front of the scenes as the queen of the institution, competing in the Miss America organization pageants, to being behind the scenes and producing shows. But I liked it. Working for the Maury Show was my big break moment. And it was my big break moment because I got to meet people from around the world who were all going through things. You know, society tells you that it's only Black people that got problems. That ain't the truth, right? You got white people, Black people, Asians, so many people from around the world dealing with the same issues, right? And I got to engage with those people in a different kind of way. And it made me realize, well, listen, my problems ain't that bad. When I was working full-time in production, I was also an entrepreneur. So I was a producer at the Maury Show, and then I opened up the first restaurant called Pinky's Jamaican and American Restaurant. And then when we went on hiatus from the Maury Show, I became a senior producer for a TV show called Paternity Court. And at the same time, I opened up a juice bar right down the street. So eventually, one of those things started to suffer. So I decided to walk away from the Maury Show and completely focus on my business. And when I focused on my business, yes, it was extremely successful, but then I was selling meat and I didn't eat meat. So I wasn't in alignment. And I'm so happy that I wasn't in alignment at that moment, because again, that was a lesson for me to understand that, like, you gotta do what's in you, that's what's real, authentic. And after I lost that business and coming up with Slutty Vegan, I realized the difference, right? The difference here is that I'm vegan. I've been vegan for a long time. It's in alignment with who I am. This is what I believe in. And now I get to do what I love and do production at the same time with it. I had Stacy try it. She said it was fantastic, but I would like for y'all to try it, and then whichever one tastes the best, because right now it's about quality.
Gotcha. Copy that, and I have his information, so I'll reach out to him.
He gave samples. It's in a wagon. Slutty Vegan. When people hear the name Slutty Vegan, about 50% of the people are going to say, yo, that's a dope-ass name. And then the other 50% will probably be uncomfortable. But there's an opportunity in both of these people. The opportunity in the people that get uncomfortable, those are the people that are going to create dialogue and ask questions, and they get curious. Anytime I'm uncomfortable about something, I want to be curious about it. I want to know more about it, right? And I've been able to create a conversation around things that may seem uncomfortable. But when you start to peel back the layers, you realize that this concept don't have nothing to do with sex. It's just a way to pull you in, to teach you about veganism in a way that you've never seen it before. Historically, we think about veganism, and it has always felt by society standards that it was a rich white lifestyle, right? You had to have money to be vegan, or you had to like live in a certain area to be vegan, right? Because there's so many vegan food deserts. Like, it's hard to be vegan. It's hard to get vegan food. But what I was able to do is I was able to use a name that may sound racy and provocative and draw you in to get you to realize that vegan food ain't nasty. Okay, this is AJ. This is one of my favorite employees. Don't show my other employees that. But AJ been here for a long time. How long you been working here now? 4 years?
4 years in September. I love Pinky. Like, she actually reminds me a lot of my mother, and she pushes me the same way my mom pushes me to be better.
I treat my employees like I'm their mama. I do not allow them to settle, to do just enough. Like, you gotta be around me, you gotta exceed the expectation. Like, you cannot be lazy with me, I won't allow it. I have 12 open Slutty Vegans with 5 under construction. And I have 1 bar vegan that's open and a bar vegan under construction. But yeah, damn, I had to do the math, that's crazy. So bar vegan was really a tester concept. Slutty Vegan, and was booming, like lines everywhere. And I'm like, you know what? I want to do a bar. And I'm not even a drinker, but I know that people like to drink, but I've never been to a bar that had vegan food. So I told my president, I said, listen, I want to create a bar. I want to create a space where people can have alcohol and eat vegan food. I had no idea that Bar Vegan would become successful. And do you know today, Bar Vegan is one of the hottest spots in Atlanta to go to eat food and to have really, really good drinks. Not only am I expanding my baby, my firstborn Slutty Vegan, I now get to expand Bar Vegan as well. So I don't have just one multi-million-dollar company. I got 2 multi-million-dollar companies. As a 36-year-old black woman living in America, for me to be able to go back to the place where I could have virtually lost everything and bring my business and create opportunities for people in the city of Baltimore is one of the greatest triumphant stories that you will ever hear. So Bar Vegan is the hottest spot in Atlanta for vegans and non-vegans. So we have graced all the big lists in Atlanta. All the lists that says like where you gonna go in Atlanta to have a good time is Bar Vegan. Bar Vegan is a vibe. Business ain't easy. Entrepreneurship is hard. Just recently, I got sued. And that was hard for me. And I can remember the day I was watching the Golden Globes. And right after the Golden Globes came off, the news came on, and I was headline news that I was being sued for unpaid wages. And I'm like, oh, I'm being sued? Like, wait, me? Like I had to like double take. I was being sued. So my reputation was potentially being tarnished because headlines made me out to be a monster. That was hard. It's still hard to this day, but I needed that to happen because guess what that did? It made sure that I ensured my best practices in my business. So I got a better HR department. I made sure that my lawyers paid attention to every piece of paperwork more than they've ever had to make sure that this would never happen again. The best advice that I have gotten from anybody was the word no. People don't realize that no has a lot of emphasis and meaning to it. Telling me no is like giving me spinach. Like, you know how Popeye got the spinach and he eat the spinach? Sometimes you need a no because that no is gonna put a battery in your back. The word no inspired my book, I Hope You Fail. This book is very special to me because I've had a lot of no's in my lifetime. I had a lot of people not believe. Do you know when I started Slutty Vegan? Nobody believed in the vision. Nobody believed that this concept would work. And now everybody is asking, how did you do it? How can I get a concept like that? But it took for the people to not believe in me to make me go harder to prove to myself that I can do it. Balance. I get asked about balance all the time. I ain't got no balance. Do I need it? Yes. But I'm a work in progress, and I'd be lying if I say that I wasn't. Being a mom, being a wife, being a CEO, being a friend, being a daughter, being a sister, being all of these things is not easy. And be a wife to my husband. He married me. He didn't marry the nanny. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm cooking for my husband. We still doing date nights. So I have to merge all of my worlds together. And it's not easy to do. Is it hard sometimes? Yeah, I have my moments in the shower where I'm crying. I'm like, God, help me. But then I wouldn't trade it for the world. American Sesh. I was smoking a blunt when I came up with American Sesh, to be honest. And I'm not no smoker, that's a disclaimer. But yeah, so I was in Turks and Caicos with my husband. And we were on a balcony. And I'm like, I want to create something called American Sesh. But in this realm, you bring celebrities, entrepreneurs, creative executives, and people that are broke, that don't have no money, that's still trying to figure life out. And you put all of these people from different socioeconomic backgrounds in a place where they come together and collaborate with no ego, no phones, just pen and pad. And we was like, damn, that's a good idea. American Sesh last night was phenomenal, to say the least. I feel like I'm doing it a disservice by saying that word. I feel like that's my life's work. Slutty Vegan is the bread and butter and like makes the money and does what it does and is impactful to the community. But like, when I tell you this is like true community building, to be able to collaborate and bring other like-minded individuals in a space with no phones, no ego, like it's a difference when you talk about it. Like describing it is not enough. you got to understand what it's like to be in that room. There is an emotional connection that takes place. There are people who are at their last dime. They get an opportunity of a lifetime by being in this space. The resources, the support, the love, the energy, the music, the dancing, like this is entrepreneur church. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and what they said after the sesh is that the panelists are the choir, right? The hype man is the praise and worship team. The host, me and Derek, we're the pastors. The people in the audience is the congregation. The DJ is the usher. And I'm like, that's crazy. This is church for entrepreneurs. So when people walk out of that room, everybody felt like it was an opportunity of a lifetime, even if they didn't get an opportunity to ask their question. There are lives that are being changed in this space. And as you can see it, like people go from not having money to having their rent paid, to having a place to live, to having PR services, to having business opportunities, all from being in this room. So I'm so proud of American Sesh. I'm proud of my other businesses, but I believe that this is my life's work. I said that I wanted to connect people, and food will do that. But this is an intellectual food, and this is the kind of food that'll stimulate your mind, and we get to do that in that room, and I'm so proud of this work. I want people to pay attention. Like, you got to be locked in. Like, there is no distractions here, because most often than not, when people are distracted, they don't get the information that they need to be able to grow. And that distraction is what really causes people to have that disconnect and growing their business. But when you come to the sesh, all you got is a pen and pad. You don't have no notepad on your phone to be able to take notes. I want you to do it old school so that you can get this old school knowledge and this old school wisdom from everybody in the room. And they do not complain. They're happy about it. How does it feel to touch the people? I don't feel like I'm touching enough people, to be honest. You know, I said this yesterday. I did a give back at my restaurant where I was giving out Pampers and wipes and bottles to new moms and mothers in need. And I said, if only I can get these big corporations to pay attention to this and dump money in my foundation, then I can do more. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. My foundation paid for 800 students to get an LLC the day of their commencement. 800. So I'm not telling you to go off and be an entrepreneur, but I'm telling you to start that pathway to entrepreneurship. Pinky Cole Foundation did that. Pinky Cole Foundation also made sure that the debt of 30 college students was paid. That's what the Pinky Cole Foundation did. So when you talk about doing the work, put my money where my mouth is. And the foundation has changed lives, and it's going to continue to change lives. And I'm really, really, really proud of the work that we do. My motivation to never stop. I don't ever want my kids to laugh at me. I don't ever want my kids to have to be inspired by somebody else because mommy didn't inspire them. It is my responsibility as a woman, as an individual, as a mother, as a Black woman, to be the example for my children so they ain't got to go out to search for somebody to look up to.